We cannot remain a force for peace in the world if we are not at peace with each other.
Believe me, we have plenty of anarchists. They don't want to talk about the anarchists.
A wound inflicted upon a single member of our community.
They've got clubs and they've got everything. Antifa
is a wound inflicted upon us all. It is time to heal the wounds that divide us.
It's a very dishonest media, those people right up there.
A new unity based on the common values that unite us.
And I really think they don't like our country. I really believe that.
When one part of America hurts, we all hurt.
These are sick people.
And when one citizen suffers an injustice, we all suffer together.
I went to better schools than they did. I was a better student than they were.
We are one people with one home and one great flag.
I hit them with everything. I got the white supremacists, the neo-Nazi, I got them all in there.
We have no division too deep for us to heal.
Yeah, KKK, we have KKK. I got them all.
There is no challenge too great for us to conquer.
The only people giving a platform to these hate groups is the media itself.
Wow. Hey, welcome to Morning Joe. You know, for over a year now, there have been people that have say you should not try to figure out the president's mental state, and if he has any issues, don't try to be a pop psychiatrist or psychologist. But I can say safely, Willie, that he at least has, in its most advanced form, political schizophrenia. I mean, that's just from 3 days. And the back and forth is insane. And I think what we need to try to dig into today is, first of all, how much does it degrade his effectiveness? Because words do matter. And at some point, even his own followers may say enough. But secondly, why did he do what he did yesterday? Because he always now, last Tuesday's horrid press conference, where he equated fascists with anti-fascists, the rest of the week, everybody was rushing out going, we had nothing to do with that, the staff. Right after his speech in Phoenix, the same thing happened. They all started immediately leaking. We had nothing to do with this. And I just got the sense, the second I saw this speech unfurl yesterday, Willie, General Kelly, I think at this point, is pretty fed up with it. And I just wonder whether General Kelly had to talk with the president or somebody else had to talk with the president saying, this is, General Kelly's not going to stick around if this keeps up. And there's no way he will.
Yeah, I think the problem is, even if General Kelly got into him and got in his ear on one speech, that nobody believes that yesterday's version of Donald Trump is the real Donald Trump. The one, the message of healing and the message of unity is the one that he actually believes, because when he's not on the teleprompter, when he's speaking from the heart, we see what we saw Tuesday night in Phoenix, or we see what we saw at Trump Tower last Tuesday night when he totally undid his words and talked about many sides and both sides. That's who he really is.
Back and forth. Why does he keep going back and forth, though? Pick a side. It doesn't even make it makes sense for Donald Trump. Pick a side.
Well, I think in the case of Charlottesville, he didn't like that he was personally felt that he was railroaded into making the speech that he made. So he came out in Trump Tower and said, you know what, I got pushed into these words, into this apology and the rest of it. Here's what I really feel. I think it's personal grievance, which is what we saw on the stage in Phoenix on Tuesday night as well. Let's spread it around here. We've got senior political analyst for NBC News and MSNBC, Mark Halpern. Donnie Deutsch with the bow tie.
What in the world?
Very
oh
bow
my
tie.
Lord.
We're going to ask him why. Why, generally speaking? Why?
These are fractious times. Sometimes a little sartorial splendor can calm things a bit.
Really,
that's pretty much it.
You know, Willie, guys, things must have really slowed down in the Hamptons for Donnie Deutsch. I mean, his game is like,
Joe,
he's pushed against the wall. It's kind of sad when you have a veteran that's had a storied career in the field and they're just losing it. So they start resorting to cheap gimmicks. No, that's not going to get you any dates this
Joe,
weekend,
I got to tell you,
Donnie.
you called a couple weeks ago when I said that the Trump rhetoric about North Korea was okay. it just stopped in the Hamptons. It was like right after the emails came out for
Yes.
Hillary, it just stopped. Yeah.
Very lonely.
So I'm working my
It
way back
finished.
though.
Shuffling up and down Main Street in East
Not with
Hampton.
that,
Very
not
sad.
with that bow tie you're not, Tucker Carlson.
Also with us, White House correspondent for Bloomberg News, Shannon Pettypiece, president of the Council on Foreign Relations, Richard Haas, and national political reporter for NBC News, joining us in Washington, Carol Lee. Joe.
Yeah, let's go around the table really quickly. Mark Halperin, why? Why the back and forth? Why does he give a contrite speech one day, goes crazy the next, and the next day gives another contrite speech?
You know, you saw parts of this during the campaign. It just depends on whether they can get him to be on the teleprompter. There was, in the White House yesterday, a lot of anxiety and anxiousness over what happened in Phoenix, not just because of the news coverage of it, but what it said about whether the Kelly era is going to be defined by the president behaving in a different way. And they got him to read the teleprompter speech. You know, this show doesn't have very much teleprompter. And you see the personalities of people like a Willie Geist,
For example.
like a Donnie
Right.
Deutsch. You
We
see their
know Willie.
personality because there's no
Yeah.
teleprompter.
Unfortunately.
That was a curveball.
You're not.
You can't give him a hanging.
You're just not going
That
to
was
get.
a
You're just
low
not. There's no
blow.
way the Trump presidency will succeed unless he's himself, and he's not. As Willie said, he's just not himself on teleprompter. So that yesterday didn't solve a thing. Just creates people wondering why he can't be like that more often without the teleprompter.
So yeah. So Donnie, you have obsessed. It's been your job to obsess over brand management for corporations, for public figures, and he's cutting against his image. I mean, it seems to me you either go all in and you go full on crazy because that's what your base wants, and you're going to continue narrowcasting, which keeps you at 33, 34, 35%. And, I mean, he will not get reelected. No. Mark it down. If he continues narrowcasting, he will lose. He will lose badly. There were a couple polls out yesterday showing both Biden and Bernie Sanders just absolutely destroying him, like 51, 52% to 35, 36%. But he's narrowcasted. But if you're going to narrowcast.
Yeah.
If you're going to expand your audience and have the guts to do that, knowing that your base is going to stay with you. But he's in a dead zone here. So what do you tell your client if your client is like Trump, bouncing back and forth with different images every day?
I'm going to give you the honest answer to that. I would, of course, when you're in the branding business, it's a very personal business. I would tell my client they need help. I watched the speech the other night. We've been at this for 2 years now, and we all try as intellectuals to analyze and get our arms around it. And I happened to stumble across the symptoms, the definition of a sociopath. And I'm not at all, I'm not trying to make noise.
Wait, no, Donnie, no, come on. If GM came to you and one day they said, hey, we just put out this ad and it says we're sporting, we're sexy, and we're the new GM.
Obvious. I'd say, Joe,
and the next, hold on a second, and the next day they put out an ad that said, hey, we're your father's General Motors. You trusted us then, you can trust us now. And then the next day they said sporty, sexy, a new kind of GM. That's what I'm talking about.
Okay.
We don't need the pop psychiatry here. I'm saying, as a branding expert, what would you say to that GM CEO that changed his image radically every day?
I would say what any third grader would say to them. This is you stand for something. You know, a brand is a set of values. The definition of a brand is this is our platform. These are the values you stand for. And what I would also say to them is that if you keep changing every single day, you're going to have no credibility or anything. You're going to stand for nothing. So you can't say one day we're going to get you cleaner 3 times faster, and the next day we're going to soak your clothes this way. I would say people are going to turn you off, and that's what's starting to happen.
Right.
And even on the extreme side of either side of the equation where he goes, we're almost at the numbed effect now, and where nothing matters anymore, and that's what happens. Your voice becomes irrelevant.
And here is the question, Richard Haas, and we've all seen this through the years. At what point does his base grow numb to this? And at what point does the freak show stop pulling all the people in to say, what's he going to say next? How outrageous is he going to be tomorrow? If I go to the event, who's he going to insult? It's kind of like You know, if you're a DJ and you're playing the same song, the media is bad, the media is evil, the media is bad, the media is evil, fake news, fake media, fake news. You know what? After a while, the crowd started to disperse. There were reports that the crowd started to sort of fade away in the middle of this speech in Phoenix, and that it wasn't as big of a crowd. And that's only natural. I mean, I remember, and I'm sure you remember too, Reagan in 1985, 86, 87 was trying to get aid for anti-communist rebels in Central America. Nobody was listening by your 6th year in. And this is so much more intense. I wonder if Donald Trump loses his effectiveness that much earlier with his base.
Well, you know, what you're getting at is if you're going to feed the beast, you have to keep feeding it more and more, and it's impossible to sustain. Joe, for me, the question is whether this is impulse or calculation. Is it just something that he can't discipline, or is this an attempt, and likely to fail, of saying different things to different constituencies at different moments? And you used the phrase narrowcasting. So some days you narrowcast to your base, sometimes you try to narrowcast to another constituency. I don't think it's sustainable, and I also think it raises, at least in foreign policy concerns overseas, because these things are heard around the world. It's not just an American echo chamber. It raises fundamental questions of whether other countries can rely on us, because they don't know what us is anymore. It raises fundamental questions about who we are, what we're prepared to do, and I don't think anyone is going to the president saying, whatever the domestic political upside, though it's not obvious to me there's any, you should know it works against everything you might want to accomplish in the world.
Thanks for checking out MSNBC on YouTube, and make sure you subscribe to stay up to date on the day's biggest stories. And you can click on any of the videos around us to watch more from Morning Joe and MSNBC. Thanks so much for watching.